It's part of our continued focus on crime here on ENCA. Today we're focusing on how to bring down the scourge of GBV in our country. Police have to receive a lot more training when dealing with victims of GBV, as mistreatment can often cause secondary trauma. To talk to the point, let's bring in my guest for this morning, a GBV survivor who has gone on to start an organisation providing support and access to mental health education for women. Mbali Shongwe joining us this morning. Mbali from Mindful Organisation. I hope I have that right. Mbali, good morning to you. First of all, if you don't mind, take us back to your experience. I'd just like people to understand what secondary trauma is actually like in this country. I don't think a lot of people, especially police and perhaps men, don't understand exactly what the problem is.
Morning, Gad. Thank you so much for having me today. I think when I reflect on my experience with reporting, it was a lot more strenuous for me than I had anticipated. Although I was aware that we don't necessarily have the best support, I don't think that when you're in that circumstance, when you're in that position, you realize just how bad it is. But I had tried to report on 2 occasions. Initially, directly following my attack, I went with a friend to the nearest police station to me at the time. And I was taken into a room and told that I would be soon joined by somebody who handles these types of cases and would help me lodge the complaints and take the case forward. And I was locked in a back room with my friend for 3 hours. Nobody came. And I think after feeling and experiencing something that is so traumatic and so isolating, so scary, to be put in a room without any indication of what was happening, also locked in a room when you're not a criminal, it was a very jarring experience, and I chose to leave the station and report on another day. And the second day, when I went into the station, before I could even clearly detail my story or explain what it was that happened to me, there was a lot of questions as to why was I at the place at that time? Why was I drinking? Why was I out with my friends at night? What was I doing, and what did I do to invite that type of attention and to invite that type of experience? And I think that that's the case that so many South Africans face. Even an incident following that, the policeman who was taking my report was also making sexual advances on me in that moment, in a moment where I've come to him to report a crime. I think all of those things compounded with what you directly experience is something that's completely distressing. It's something that doesn't make you feel safe. It makes you feel way more vulnerable than you were to begin with, and definitely doesn't set the for a safe progression, or that's not somebody that you want to trust going forward with something as vulnerable and as important as this.
When I now talk about Mindful Organisation that you've now put together, this organisation of yours, what sort of support are you trying to offer? I'll tell you why I'm asking the question, because support is one thing, but it seems like police needs a complete revamp of how they handle this. In your answer, are you comfortable to tell me if the officers that you dealt with were male? I'll tell you why I'm asking the question, because there has been calls in the past, in Mbali, for anyone that's reporting a GBV crime to be directly sent through to a female officer. What do you make of that sort of comment as you answer the question?
I think that I would have preferred that, but I think that it's also neither here nor there, because on the 2 different instances, I was once dealing with a woman and other time dealing with a man. And obviously with a man, it invites the case of maybe sexual harassment or advances being made, but also in dealing with the woman that I dealt with, she was also completely desensitized to my situation. She also perpetuated the idea of, as a woman, why were you out, or why were you drinking, or what were you doing? And I think that a lot of the time women are very cruel to women as well. And so I think it's more about sensitivity and the training and the care and empathy of the individual rather than the gender. I think that it's something that has to be focused on. Sensitivity training and more care is something that has to be focused on across the board, because it's not necessarily gender specific, I would say.
Just very briefly, as I say goodbye to you, Mbali, first of all, am I saying the organisation right, Mindful Organisation? If someone wants to get hold of you, any support that they need, where are we sending viewers of ENCA if they want to speak to you or get involved somehow, before I say goodbye?
So Mindful Organisation, you can find us on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Mindful Organisation. Or you can find us on our website, mindful.org.
Well, I really appreciate your time and bravery coming on to speak to me this morning. Mbali Shongwe from Mindful Organisation, GBV survivor and founder of the organisation, joining us this morning.